Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Motown Exile. My name is Ryan Relkin. On this episode of Motown Exile, we are going to conduct our first ever simulated draft here, the Motown Exile Simulated Draft number 1 for the 2026 NFL Draft. So we're going to use the PFF, the Pro Football Focus platform for this draft. A couple things to consider before we get started with the draft. We're not going to do any trades here in the first few weeks. I want to kind of get an idea of who the players are that could be available if the Lions just stand pat with their picks this year. We're going to do that. One thing to consider is that the Super Bowl hasn't been played yet, so the 2025 season isn't officially over with. There's been no NFL Combine. Free agency hasn't happened, so some of these holes, hopefully, Brad Holmes is going to fill as we get closer to the draft. But by the time we get to the draft, we're going to kind of know what our team is going to be. So without further ado, let's get started with our draft. So we're going to take the Detroit Lions. We're going to, let me get into my interact mode. And we're going to do a 7-round draft. Let's enter the draft. And for the 2026 draft, as it stands, the Lions have the 17th, 50th, 118th, and 155th, 180th, 187th, and 204th pick, and the 222nd pick available to them as of right now. So the Las Vegas Raiders are very first in draft order. Let's go ahead and without further ado, let's commence with the 2026 Motown Exile draft number 1. All right, so this is as I've played around with this platform, what we have available here has been pretty consistent. If the Lions do stay pat and this stays consistent, there's some definitely some players here that could be a big help to the Detroit Lions. So top of it all, you look at Cassius Howell. He's available at defensive end. You look at some of his statistics, his PFF overall. He's been really, really strong. Looking down the board a little bit, we've got Spencer Fano, who I think would be an amazing addition to the Detroit Lions. His PFF is really, really good. So you could go with him there. You could also, you look at Francis Malgoa. He's just trending completely in the right direction. And then there's some other players, positions Lions maybe aren't interested in. Romello Height, wow, a 92. He's really trending in the right direction. He had a great year last year. So definitely some players that that the Lions could add to help their team going into the 2026 season. With this pick, though, we're going to go with the best player available according to PFF, and that player is going to be Cassius Howell, defensive end, Texas A&M. All right, so something I've noticed as I've played around with the PFF simulated draft tool, I've noticed that there seems to be a little bit of depth at tackle. You're going to notice that some tackles are going to show up again now and towards the end of the draft. One guy that shows up quite a bit is Caleb Tiernan, tackle out of Northwestern. He's pretty high up there and 48th rated player. This is the 50th pick. Lions have a definite need regardless of whether Taylor Decker retires or not. And we're going to go ahead and grab Caleb Tiernan, tackle out of Northwestern. All right, and so now is where it gets a little bit more, there's more decisions to make, I guess. A little bit more thinking and a little bit more strategy involved when it comes to who we're going to pick. So you see the best player available right now at the 118th pick is Carson Beck. The quarterback out of Miami could be the soon-to-be quarterback of the national championship Miami Hurricanes. But man, that Indiana team looks like a juggernaut right now. They look outstanding. So it's going to be a great game. But in terms of this draft, let's look at our positions of need. We've already got a tackle. We've already got an edge. Let's look at our interior offensive line. Got a couple of decent guards here at 118. Let's look at DJ Campbell. He's been pretty consistently decent. DJ Campbell. Kalen Rutledge out of Georgia Tech. Made some nice improvement from 24 to 25. Armaj Reed Adams, another guard, just went out of Texas A&M. 69.1. And then let's look at Pat Coogan. Played most of his career at Notre Dame. And then transferred over to Indiana. He's a player that I really am intrigued by. I'm going to go ahead though with this one. I'm going to go best player available at with the 118th pick. Even though there's some players that are more highly rated, position of guard is a position of need. We need to get our offensive line back to being a bunch of bruisers and a bunch of bullies. Let's go with DJ Campbell, guard out of Texas. All right, and so now we, excuse me, have moved on to the next stage of the draft, pick 155. You see Cade Klubnik is the quarterback out of Clemson. He's the highest rated player at 126. And then you jump ahead, you've got Harold Perkins, linebacker out of LSU. You've got Kobe Baines, guard out of Kansas. This is where you kind of start to see some interesting options available. This is the 155th pick. So any of these guys would be, I think, would be decent in this area. Just because it says corner's position of need. Let's look at here. You see Takario Davis from Washington, kind of dipped and then came back a little bit last season. Let's see what else we got here. Got Daquan Wright, tight end out of Ole Miss. I think I'm going to hold off on tight end for now. And let's take a look at Harold Perkins. And he's kind of dipped from his the early start of his career. You see his pass rush grade is really high. Not bad on run defense either. Could potentially be a guy that the Lions may, if they were to select, could have him move over to that edge position, kind of be in a hybrid sort of spot. Not the best in pass coverage. That would make him a little bit more of a liability at outside linebacker. Man, it's a tough pick here. I think I'm going to go, though, with Harold Perkins, linebacker out of LSU. So 155th pick is in for our Detroit Lions. So now we're up to pick 180. These are the top available players according to the PFF, Pro Football Focus simulator. And we're looking at some different positions, some of need, some not. One guy that I've kind of been looking at a little bit, who was decent, at least in the games I watched at Iowa, he had a huge score in 2024, dipped a little bit. That's Max Llewellyn, edge out of Iowa. And I'm going to go with him at pick 179. I think this would be adding some great depth to the Lions. You get Max Llewellyn, I think you'd be in good shape there. So we're going to add him to the team. So now we're at pick 187. And looking at the board here, we've got Jalen Daniels, quarterback out of Kansas. He's the highest rated player on the board. You look down the list, you've got Jermaine Matthews is a cornerback out of Ohio State. Parker Brailsford, who is a center, is a position of need, could be someone that the Lions look at. You look at Jalen Daniels again up here at the top. Diego Pavia is intriguing because, some of the stupid things that he posted online and that he said after the Heisman Trophy ceremony, I think are going to hurt him. He may go undrafted. We'll see if he's on the board when the Lions are due to draft with our final pick at 222. I think with this pick, this is a stretch to some. Let's look at his overall. Now, I like this. This is a guy, Nate Baukircher. He is a tight end out of Texas A&M. And you look here, this is progress. And then he improved almost 10 overall points in his overall grade from 2023 to 2025. For whatever reason, I don't see much. There's nothing colored here on the 2025 comparables. But you look at that receiving score isn't bad. I think this was something that the Lions would really like in a player, his run blocking grade. We really dropped off when Sam Laporta and Brock Wright both were injured. And I think that this is something that, even though it doesn't list it as a need, is definitely something we are going to need some depth at tight end. I'm going to go with the guy from Dan Campbell's alma mater, Texas A&M, Nate Baukircher. All right, and so we've got most of our picks in. We got 2 picks left. We've got pick 204 and pick 222. We've been able to address some needs here in our fantasy draft, at least needs according to PFF, and also to just my own personal judgment. Best player available right now is Domani Jackson. He's a cornerback out of Alabama, and he looks steady. One thing I do really like about him is he has a very high coverage grade, and also he's middle of the pack in his run defense. I think if you're going to play corner for the Detroit Lions, you're definitely going to have to be able to play against the run. You got to tackle. I mean, that's a non-negotiable, I think, right now for the Lions. One interesting score on here for him is zone coverage grade, which the Lions haven't played a lot of zone since Dan Campbell became head coach. However, there could be some changes on defense. You never know what's going to happen with the coordinator spot. But they may make some adjustments this year. Maybe they do play more zone. Could be an interesting pick there for the Lions. Domani Jackson out of Alabama. Looking at other available players, Vincent Anthony is an edge out of Duke, and he's okay. I think at this pick, though, we need depth at corner. I think Domani Jackson is a guy that has his statistics show that he could fill a lot of different needs for the Lions. Very least, he could be a good player on special teams and definitely add some depth at the cornerback position. So we're going to go with Domani Jackson. All right, now we're at pick 222. This is where, there could be some experimental choices available. You look at what we've got. There are quite a few quarterbacks still on the board. This might be where you bring in another guy to compete with Kyle Allen, giving him a little bit of a chance to make him earn his spot as the backup. I have to say, I was scared every week because I felt like if Jared Goff went down, we had no chance in hell with Kyle Allen. So no offense to him, but I think that having some competition could be a good thing. Let's take a look at some of these guys. This is Luke Altmaier. Had a solid career at Illinois. You see his passing grade is pretty decent. He's got good intermediate range. His deep range isn't bad. Pressure isn't too shabby either. So he could be a possibility. Let's look at some of these other guys. I'm always interested in players at this point in the draft from North Dakota State, players like that. So this is where you got to kind of take into consideration who he played against. Now, not the same competition as you're going to see in the Big Ten or in the Big 12 or in the SEC or ACC. That doesn't mean there's not good football players. I think that the coach at Indiana showed us with his his background coaching at George Mason, that there are good players. And you look at every NFL roster, there are players from just about every level of college football. So that doesn't mean the guy from North Dakota State University couldn't possibly pan out in the NFL. I mean, everything here is just off the charts. I mean, his intermediate grade, his passing grade overall, his deep grade is 99.9. Are you kidding me? I mean, let's look at some of the teams that they faced. I do believe this is Louisville. That's a pretty good score, 91.4. I don't recognize, or maybe not, this might not be Louisville. This might be a team within their own conference. I have to do a little research on those guys. But I feel like at 222, he might be a good choice. So let's add some depth to the quarterback position and a potential project. We'll make Brad happy, give him his project player, and we're going to go with Cole Payton. So let's look at overall how PFF scored us in our draft. And it looks like they really liked our first two picks. Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M, edge player. They gave us an A. Caleb Tiernan, our offensive tackle out of Northwestern. They also gave us an A. They didn't like DJ Campbell so much. That doesn't look like a pick that they feel was necessarily the right guy to take at the draft at that point. I think that they, according to this, they felt like we should have taken Carson Beck with that pick. However, I'm not sure that we need Carson Beck. Maybe in future drafts I'll add that in. Harold Perkins Jr., linebacker out of LSU, gave us a B minus. 179, that Max Llewellyn pick. I think that's a steal. Round 5, 180. With to get that pick at that point. I mean, 187 or sorry, 180. Yeah, I think that's a steal of a pick to get Max Llewellyn there. So right there, you've got two edge rushers who got A scores from PFF. Damani Jackson, also cornerback, 204. They gave us an A on that pick. And Cole Payton, they gave us a B minus. I mean, you live and you learn. You get a little bit of depth there, but overall an A minus for our first draft. Not so bad. But we're going to keep coming back every week. We're going to do one of these every Tuesday or Wednesday probably. We'll do another draft here and simulate it through and see how things end up. And the main purpose of this, it's fun to just kind of play general manager, but it's also an opportunity to kind of study and see who's available for the Lions as they get closer and closer to April's draft in Pittsburgh. So on that note, I know it's wintertime. I know that there's a lot of sickness out there. I know the weather is bad in some parts of the country. I'm fortunate. I'm in the Phoenix, Arizona region where it was 73 degrees today. Wherever you are, please be safe. Remember that there's someone who loves you out there. Take care of yourself. And if you're not well, take the time to help your body heal. Rest up, get better, and enjoy the football this weekend. We got a national championship game coming up. And we got more playoff football. So it's going to be fun. It's not the Lions. I mean, let's be honest, it's been kind of sucky watching the playoffs and looking at some of these teams and realizing if the Lions had really stepped up and done their job. And I mean, I'm looking at Brad Holmes. If he had done more with providing the right players and not making safe and conservative draft or free agent signings, aka Marcus Davenport. I think that we could have been there too, but that's neither here nor there. Hindsight's 2020. All we can do is look forward. Brad's done a great job of building the foundation of this team. I'm rooting for Brad Holmes. I want Brad Holmes to be successful. I want Dan Campbell to be successful, and most of all, I just want all of us Lions fans who have been so loyal over the years to have an opportunity to enjoy the ultimate in football success, which would be a Super Bowl championship. So without further ado, we're going to say goodbye for now. Remember, hit that subscribe button if you like what you saw, you want to hear more content. We also would love for you to comment below and, of course, smash that like button. And if you feel interested, if you're feeling like sharing what we have to say, what we're doing, you find it interesting, please share the link. Share it with your friends. Trying to get to 50 subscribers so we can hit that first tier here on YouTube. Ultimately, our goal is to have 1,000 subscribers. That would be great. But either way, we're having fun. This is a great experience for me. Look for our episode likely coming out this Sunday, Motown Exile. Brendan Relkin hopefully will be back, and we'll talk some more football, maybe a little bit about the playoffs. If there's any Lions news in terms of coaching hires, we'll maybe talk about that, as well as how the Pistons and the Red Wings are going. I know Brendan really wants to talk about Sergei Fedorov and his retirement or number retirement ceremony the other night, and the Red Wings have just been lights out. So anyway, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, rest of your week. I hope that everything's good wherever you're at, and we'll see you next time here on Motown Exile.